There was a visceral reaction to Jane's character in LikeAPallet, and I don't mean mild disappointment or playful frustration. I mean the kind of reaction where you would think that she committed an actual crime, like she stole something, hurt someone, and needed to be publicly shamed. But what was Jane's crime? She was oblivious, and for some people online, there was no greater offense. Jane became the target of some of the most left-field, mean-spirited, and frankly sexist commentary I've seen directed at a jail character in a long time. And while criticism should always be welcomed, because no character is above analysis, there's a point where criticism stops being about storytelling and starts becoming about punishment. So today, I want to talk about Jane, why she deserves love, what makes her lovable, and why characters like Jane and stories like hers are exactly why we need more diversity in GL narratives. Jane is not written as a perfect character. She's not hyper-confident, emotionally fluent, or immediately recognizes romantic interest. And I believe that's the point. Jane is at a transitional moment in her life. She's entering adulthood, living away from home, and trying to figure out who she is without the safety net of familiarity. That alone is disorienting enough. But now add college, new social dynamics, and unspoken expectations, and suddenly everything feels like a test you didn't study for. Jane isn't cruel nor manipulative and is not playing games. She's just simply unaware. And somehow that became unforgivable. Jane deserves love because love is not a reward for perfection. Somewhere along the way, we started treating romantic worthiness like a checklist. Did she notice the signs fast enough? Did she respond correctly? Did she say the right thing at the right time? Jane fails these tests not because she doesn't care, but because she doesn't yet understand what she's being tested on. Jane has never considered being attracted to a woman before arriving at college. So when Di shows interest, Jane doesn't recognize it as attraction and isn't rejecting Di. She literally doesn't know what she's seeing. And this right here matters. We talk so much about coming of age stories, but we often forget that self-discovery is messy and awkward. It's full of wrong assumptions and missed signals. Jane is operating from the only framework she has known, and within that framework, Di's behavior doesn't read as romantic, it reads as hostility. Let's talk about Di's staring. From the audience's perspective, we know what it means. From Di's perspective, it's longing. But from Jane's perspective, she's being stared at by a woman she's never spoken to. Furthermore, when caught, Di falls into a shy stance, crosses her arms, and furrows her brows. If you were Jane, what would you think? Jane assumes Di hates her. Not because she's cruel or dismissive, but because she's reading the situation based on the emotional language she already understands. And that emotional language has never included woman-loving woman dynamics. Jane does not know the rules and signals of the community, and we punish her for that. Jane's obliviousness is not a flaw. It's a form of sincerity. Every action Jane takes towards Di is intentional. Every emotion she feels is genuine. Jane wears her heart on her sleeve even when she doesn't realize she's doing it, and that's exactly why Di is drawn to her. There's something simply compelling about someone who hasn't learned how to mask yet. Jane doesn't play games, nor does she weaponize emotions. Her innocence isn't ignorance, it's authenticity. And that kind of authenticity is rare. As a GL fan who engages online regularly, I constantly see people complain that there isn't enough variety in stories, characters, personality types, dynamics, or even filming locations. But here's the pattern I've noticed. When we do get something different, we're either slow to engage with it or we immediately reject it. Jane isn't the typical GL lead. She isn't bold or emotionally assertive. She doesn't clock the queerness instantly and doesn't move at the pace we're used to, and instead of asking why she's different, many viewers ask why she was wrong. We should encourage diverse characters and stories because not everyone experiences love the same way, recognizes attraction immediately, or even enters adulthood with the same tools, language, or emotional awareness. Jane represents a walk of life that exists but is rarely centered. People who are late bloomers and don't fit neat labels right away. These are people who don't see themselves reflected in queer narratives until they're already inside them. If we only celebrate the one type of queer character, who is confident, self-aware, and emotionally fluent, we erase the people who didn't get there that way. Jane's story reminds us that queerness isn't a monolith. It's shaped by upbringing, exposure, personality, and timing. And that diversity isn't just something we ask for when it's convenient, it's something we have to defend when it challenges us. Jane's lack of awareness doesn't make her unworthy, it makes her human. In fact, Her obliviousness is what gives her character weight. It shows us that when Jane eventually does understand her feelings, they won't be shallow or fleeting. They'll be rooted in something real. Jane's journey isn't about denying love, it's about learning how to recognize it. And that journey deserves patience, not punishment. Jane did not commit a crime. She didn't manipulate, deceive, or reject Di out of malice. She simply didn't know yet. And if we can't make space for characters who are still growing and figuring themselves out, then what kind of stories are we really asking for? Jane deserves love because love isn't earned by being perfect. She's lovable because she's sincere, intentional, and emotionally honest. And her story matters because it reminds us that difference in personalities, pacing, and perspectives are not a flaw. And if we truly want better, richer, more varied GL stories, then we have to stop punishing characters like Jane for not arriving fully formed. Sometimes love starts with not knowing, and that's okay. As a final word, I'd like to recognize that during the second half of LikeAPallet's airing, that the criticism of Jane had started to die down, at least in the online spaces that I occupy. I'm not sure if the people who had those harsh opinions had just stopped watching the series entirely, or if Jane's character had grown on them maybe. I am very unsure. Anywho, I hope my rambling had resonated with some of you. If you liked it and would like to see more from me, I invite you to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.